Many of you for making the effort to come out in great attire. We're like kittens tonight. It's hard to believe that this is our 8th annual Furry Tales Gala. When we started planning our first in 2008, I only had 2 kids, and they weren't even in preschool yet. I now have 4. With the oldest in grade 6, and the youngest being reciting dinosaur names that I've never even heard of before.
This is Cassie.
In those days, we were still surviving day to day and working side by side with a number of rats in an old boarding town. And when we asked our first out-of-town guests, they were from far away exotic places like Fort Langley, Richmond, and Chilliwack. So welcome Noir from Paris and many others from various places across the United States. And of course, welcome to our event audience. It's really exciting. Of course, I'm looking forward to a great evening. You're going to be treated to a great meal, and the auction is going to be spectacular. There are a lot of hands that are responsible for making tonight happen. First and foremost, our amazing staff and volunteers who have been responsible for making tonight happen. First and foremost, our amazing staff and volunteers who have committed themselves to this event since January. And of course, a special thanks to our Gala committee. Jane Nelson, Shelley Roche, Kim McFarland, Stacey Costeros, Megan Woodfeld, Becky Handhill, and Chloe Desaro. Thank you for being wonderful. You really have done yourselves. I would also like to thank the many that have gotten us here tonight with their financial contributions. Of course, this includes our major event donors, our table donors, and our auction donors. These great people, like Phil Jackman from Valley Traffic Systems, thank you, Phil. Rob Mallet from Knock on Wood Furniture. The amazing and supportive Schuin family from the Schuin Foundation. Thank you. David Foxwell, Pat and Mark Dumont, where are the Dumonts? And of course, Shelley and Eric Woodward, who have carried us a long way. These are definitely the people that you want to have on your team. But you can't because they're on our team. And of course, to all of you who have contributed big and small, your contribution has certainly made a big difference. Over the years, the focus of Furry Tale Endings has been to celebrate successes, and we have done that by telling our most heart-wrenching yet heartwarming stories. These are the stories of 3-legged chihuahuas, blind kittens, cats found at great depths or great heights, starving horses, obese dogs, dogs with rotting skin, dogs found in filth, kittens found in boxes behind dumpsters, and of course countless other horrible situations that, with your help, we have turned into Furry Tale Endings. Thank you. There is no doubt that these stories are special and they deserve to be celebrated. However, we also can't forget the ones that didn't make the headlines. These are often the stories of average animals being cared for by average people and being adopted by average families. They really are the stories of everyday life at our shelter. Of course, my ignorance to this reality was brought painfully to my attention several months ago while helping our animal control team. Because we were short-staffed on a day, I volunteered to pick up a stray dog in South Langley. I don't get to do this very often because we do have an amazing team, and truth be told, they do just fine without me, probably better. However, going out often reminds me of how challenging their job can be. In this case, the biggest challenge was myself. So armed with the address in one hand and my truck keys in the other, I jumped into my truck and off I went in search of adventure. And within a few minutes, I found the address on in big brass numbers on a massive stone gate post. I pulled off the road and stopped at the closed gate. Judging by these gates, I knew one thing for sure. I could never afford to own this place. These gates were amazing. And feeling rather intimidated, I cautiously pushed the call button at the gate. But to my surprise, the big gates opened without being questioned. I drove through, and what I saw blew my mind. The pristine driveway, lined with perfect shrubs, gently curved left and then right up a small hill. As I drove on, a large field appeared, and a gentle stream ran into a beautiful pond. And beyond that, horses were grazing on lush grass, paying me no attention. After driving for what felt like a mile up this driveway, I crested a second hill, and a house with endless peaks and garage doors that I couldn't count stood in front of me. This house was fit for royalty. I sure was glad I had worn my clean pants. I continued to the house and parked by the front door. I got out, rang the bell, and with my heart pounding, I waited for the door to open. And when it did, the homeowner was just as you would expect. She was stately and proper in every way. But what surprised me was when she came forward. She had all the warmth that you would expect from your grandmother. Her smile was inviting, and her eyes showed a focused interest in a really warm heart. She wasted no time in showing me to the barn where the old lad had taken refuge. And while helping me load it into the truck, she asked me several polite questions about the work that we did, before getting to the issue of cats. Oh no, I thought. This is always when it goes south. Unfortunately, in all my years in the field, people only want to talk about cats when they have a complaint. But thankfully, that wasn't the case. And I'm back. She asked if we were the people that built cats for the internet. Yes, I cautiously replied, not knowing where this was going. Well, I can tell you her eyes lit up. She said she had been watching our Day in the Life show for months and never missed it. Rather surprising. She went on for several minutes about how great our staff and volunteers are and how nice it is to see cats and kittens from such humble beginnings grow up and get adopted into nice homes. Without having much to add, I smiled and nodded in agreement, which was the last smart thing I did that afternoon. And then she said that by watching the cats online, it had convinced her that she wanted one too. Oh no, again, I thought. Now that's when it usually gets really awkward, because they all want the really special one. So I started with my usual, yes, well, they're all very cute, but please remember that many people apply for them from far and wide, and it's really hard. That's when she stopped me abruptly. Oh dear, no. I don't want one of them. Those ones don't need my help. Those ones are famous, and they will get adopted quickly into great families. What I want is one of those average cats in your shelter. You know, the ones that really need help getting a home. An average cat, I thought to myself, what an odd thing for this lady to want. There was nothing average about her, and she clearly was used to getting special things. She must have read my mind because she quickly asked, is there something wrong with your cats? No, not at all, I said in defense. But I couldn't catch myself and continued with, but you hardly seem like an average person. Why would you want an average cat? We both paused awkwardly, staring at each other. And then she said, yes, I could see why you would think that, but the truth is, my husband and I are quite average people. We may have more wealth than others, but we are not smarter, or do we really have any special skills? In running our businesses, we have always hired average people. In our experience, they are the hardest working, the most loyal, and the most grateful. However, they are also the ones that are most often overlooked, sort of like the average cats at your shelter. The not so average ones, the ones that are the sickest or the prettiest, or the ones with the most horrible stories of neglect and hardship, are the ones that often get the attention and get adopted. Am I right? She asked, already clearly knowing the answer. Well, yes, I guess you are, I sort of fumbled. But of course made the mistake of continuing with, well, you know, they get all the attention because the average ones don't really have stories that people want to hear. That was a really bad move. There was an immediate change in her expression. Gone was the warm and kind grandmother, and in its place was a tired person with a look of sincere disappointment that clearly said, oh dear, you just don't get it, do you? But she had more class than that. But instead of saying that, she composed herself and continued with, every cat or dog, just like every person, has a story, and each is worth celebrating. It's true we have weaknesses for headlines and the sensational, but that shouldn't stop us from trying to help them all. They all need homes, regardless of where they started, because they are all in the same place now. Well, at that moment, I had been put in my place. And as I drove away to the next call, I thought hard about what had just happened. I have always feared being thought of as average, but the more animals at our shelter often do take longer to find and get the attention. The staff and volunteers, it became clear that she was right. We are. The average people are the most loyal. They are the hardest working. And although it seems strange to say, I now realize that it's okay to be average, because together we're exceptional. And without doubt, those average stories are certainly worth celebrating. Now, if you'll excuse me for just a minute, I need to make a word, someone say it for me? Thank you, change. This is actually for your protection, so just hold on. All right, this is what our staff and volunteers have to do every single day, multiple times a day.
Can we hold your mic?
Could you do that? Thank you.
All right, here we go.
All right, so first goes on the smog. You can see this one is a nice mauve color.
It works with your eyes, I'm just saying. Okay, smock is on.
All right. I'm going to leave this one unbuttoned, although, well, I could do one up. We'll be here all
They probably want to see your chest.
All right. Now we've got the pants. Look at these charmers.
All right, pencil.
All right, and it doesn't stop there. I've got some booties to put on.
Okay, booties are on, very important.
All right.
One booty. Don't rip them. Number two. There you go. Number two is going on. Okay. Oh, that's okay.
Nice little protocol.
Okay, so now you go. Let's pretend he didn't break that. Let's go on with that. Okay, next up is.
This is the most stylish piece, the hairnet.
Beautiful. Okay.
And of course, you're going to protect your eyes.
And finally,
You just don't know what you're going to breathe in there, so you got to be careful. So there we are. Oh, is this on? I can't hear you. So this is it. Before you even start work, I guess my question is, what do you do when you gotta go pee? Any of the staff? Oh. The purpose of putting this on is because, as many of you will remember, I stood here a year ago and introduced the next phase in our plan to help cats by building a freestanding and purpose-built intake and isolation center called the Laps Isoasis. Since sharing this great news, I'm proud to report that we have come a long way in making it a reality. In the last year, we have spent countless hours researching best practices and consulting with experts from all over Canada and the United States in the field of shelter disease, treatment, and management. We have left no stone unturned or detail overlooked. It's important to get it right the first time, and we certainly want to create an example for others to follow. There is no denying that it's taken us a lot longer than we had planned, but it's certainly going to be worth it. The best news is we have just given our architect the green light to produce construction drawings with the goal of finding a contractor in early 2016. Yes, it's very exciting. And now I've got some numbers here. With the help of many of you, as well of course as the Township of Langley, and the more than 450 people that contributed from 7 countries on 3 continents, including 7 Canadian provinces and 32 US states, we are actually almost in a position to pay for the Isoasis. Which is great. Based on our most recent budget estimates, we're probably still looking at about another $75,000. But I have faith that we can do that here tonight, or at least get a good start. Not only do we have the potential to raise enough to fund our other essential programs, but we certainly have enough to really make the Isoasis happen. The great news is, 2 actually pieces of great news. The firefighters charity have already donated $1,000. The check's in my pocket. Thank you to the firefighters. And the Schuin family, through the Schuin Foundation, have committed to matching up to $20,000 for all donations made tonight. So those aren't fees, you don't buy those. So that doesn't include silent and live auction. Those are donations straight to Labs. They will match up to $20,000. That's pretty amazing. Thank you to the students. What I'd like to do next is invite one of my favorite volunteers to come up and say a few words about why she volunteers with Labs. Would Kim McFarland please come on up?
Sean.
Good evening, everybody. I was asked to give the volunteer.
Sean.
Good evening, everybody. I was asked to give the volunteer speech. Now, most people would be honored. I, on the other hand, reluctant, as I'm terrified of public speaking. I then changed my thought process and thought about all the feral cats out of the People for Happier Cats Happy Forest and all the terrified animals that make their way to Labs daily who need someone to speak for them. How did I get here, you ask? Labs became part of mine and my partner Keith's life 5 years ago when I adopted our Black Beauty Jaeger out of Cat Cottage on December 23rd. While adopting Jaeger, we fell in love with the facility. I started following Labs on Facebook and would often come by and drop off needed blankets, towels, food, Kleenex, toys, and anything requested on their Facebook posts. Then one day I opened up a Facebook to find a link to a page called Tiny Kittens, and a girlfriend telling me I must watch their kitty cam. It took me a couple of days to view the link. When I opened, I see 2 black cats, a litter box, a toilet. And I thought to myself, my girlfriend must be losing her mind. Who in their right mind would watch kittens in a bathroom? Well, I'm standing before you tonight because I watched kittens be born in a bathroom. I soon made the connection that Shelley at Tiny Kittens was a foster to my beloved sheltered Labs. ISO protocol was how I got involved with Labs, through Shelley. When ringworm was detected on the Jungle 10 litter, It was devastating news and would mean months of treatment, which included oral meds, baths, isoprotocol, and became a way of life for Shelley and Eric at their home. Shelley realized very quickly how impossible it was going to be to bath 10 feral cats, disinfect their home and their rooms, so she enlisted a small group of women to come and help. Remarkably, all 10 got through it and were adopted to wonderful homes, one of which was ours. The jungle kitten litter was a game changer for lats and tiny kittens. Shelley and I decided that we were going to try our hand at trapping the jungle kitten moms. The jungles weren't the first litter to be brought in from lats from that area, and we wanted to compassionately control feral populations from this area. Our concern was, where would we take these moms if they had ringworm? And our only option at the time was just Shelley and Eric's garage. It became so clear that we needed a facility to house sick cats that come in from the community. Our first TNR mission was very unsuccessful, so Shelley developed a mapping program where people of Langley could map cats that they see in their areas. We were blown away by the number of feral cat colonies that were mapped, and we headed out last February to the biggest one to see what we could do. After visiting, we discovered quickly that we were dealing with a large feral cat colony, which we now know is 200 plus cats. We enlisted the help of lats to reach out to the property owner to see if we could get permission to set up a feeding station and start feeding the cats and start getting them to come consistently so that we can start trapping them and start controlling the community numbers, or the colony numbers, sorry. The property owner did most of the trapping on his side, and Shelley and I trapped on the feeding station side. This TNR project is a partnership between lats and tiny kittens, and we call it People for Happier Cats. We want to compassionately deal with the feral cat population and bring in pregnant feral mamas to help their babies be delivered in a safe environment where we can adopt out their kittens. Shelley and I started on the property in February, and thanks to lats and our partner vets, we have TNR'd, trapped, neutered, released, 149 to date. We have placed 2 ferals in a barn thanks to Harold, and if you need more, I don't know where you are, please reach out. We've adopted out 77 of the feral kittens that were born in our custody. And we have cloned 5. The rest were returned to the colony where we continue to care for them daily. We were able to expand our feeding team to 5 members recently in hopes to finish up the trapping this winter and move on to a different colony. There's an estimated 22,000 feral cats in Langley alone. The People for Happier Cats have taught us so much. They have provided much needed tracking data that we have obtained through tracking collars, tracked when females became pregnant so that we could track them and bring them into Lass's care or tiny kittens care so they could give birth, set up cams at feeding stations so that we could catalog and name the 200 plus cats. The cats went from trusting humans, not trusting humans, to welcoming us upon arrival. They now interact with us, play with toys, use scratch posts, love dollar store tents and tunnels, love to play iPad games and paint, and their art is available out front. We have truly made a positive impact on the colony, and I am so proud to be part of the team. Over the past 8 months, my biggest accomplishment is...
You're doing great.
able to socialize two of the barrels calling again. I told Mr. D, as of 12 days ago, I have trapped them and brought them into China. And China seems graciously enough to let me bring them in to see if they would love to live indoors. They are now up. They have done amazing, and they are now up for adoption. So, Father, please step up and give them a carefree, worry-free, safe life they deserve. We wouldn't be able to do what we do at the Happy Forest without our amazing lab staff, food sponsors, trap sponsors, cam sponsors, tuna sponsors, litter sponsors, volunteers, fosters, ringworm cuddlers, and the incredible online community that follows labs and generously donates consistently. We desperately need the ISO oasis so we can continue to help our community cats. Please raise your glasses and join me in thanking the volunteers, online community, and of course labs. Here's to you.
Thank you very much. That was great. It's always tough to follow something like that. Yes, but that's incredible. But that's, you know what, in working in that kind of industry, volunteering in that kind of industry, that's the passion that you need. And I think we all can see she has a lot of passion. So well done, well done. So we're going to get to dinner in just a second, but before that, we want to sort of get you in the mood, the festive spirit for tonight, the festive spirit of giving, of course, of raising money. So I'd like you to put your hands together as we say hello to some amazing performers, Burgundy and Chastity. Come forward, here we go.